Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jacob with Unleashing Intuition Secrets, and joined once again by Janine Morjo. And we're going to talk about past lifetimes and how they relate to current times, how we bring in a lot of information from the past and bring it in to work together like Janine and I are doing. And now, because we've had a little bit where we talked about how the two of us worked together during the time frame of the Medici family. And you basically trained all of us. You were like a guide and a counselor. And that's how we were able to bring in the Renaissance during that time frame. So we talked about how we're bringing in the Renaissance again. So what I like to do is go back into even further back in time and start to bring in some of these lifetimes where I think that we've worked together. I'm not sure. So the audience knows I haven't discussed any of this with Janine. It's just really been coming through today. So see, she's really excited to see what happens here. So we'll see what happens. You know, maybe some of these connections will be a hit, some of them won't. But if they are, I think they're going to reveal some interesting stuff for that all of us can benefit from. Mm-hmm. So first of all, you know, I've written a book called The Awakening of a Warrior, Past Lives of Navy SEAL Remembered. So in that book, there's a lot of these lifetimes I think, you know, we have worked together on. So I'm not going to go too much into that right away. The first one I want to look at is a lifetime during Plutarch. So Plutarch was a Greek Middle Platonist philosopher, historian, biographer, essayist. And he was also the priest at Temple of Apollo in Delphi. So the Delphic Oracle, as we know, for thousands of years, so a lot of people think it was just for 900, but it was actually thousands of years, the Oracle of Delphi, you know, brought in information, and the priest would interpret that information. So as Plutarch, and I was Plutarch, and I'll show you a picture here in a second that really reveals that I almost looked identical today to the statue of Plutarch. Wow. He talks about how, you know, he goes into detail of what the oracle did. And this will be interesting for everyone. So, you know, a lot of us are really into religions of this current time frame. Well, there's been many religions, as we know, and these religions have helped us connect with divine source, as Janine and I do. So we connect with divine source in our own individual ways. She does it through, you know, the cards. I do it through from visions that I get, and from remote viewing and so forth. So I'm guided by, you know, source, as she's guided by source when she taps into source and brings through that information. So the Oracle of Delphi was doing that. Was, of course, you know, the different time frames. The Oracle would of Delphi would tap into different entities, and the one that was most prominent for almost 1,000 years was of Apollo. So the gods, gods and goddesses, you know, have come through to us basically to give us information from source. So you're thinking, well, the one that we have now, whoever your religion is, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Jew, whether you're a Christian, or whatever religion you are into, ideally, you're having your own personal connection with source, like, you know, Janine and I are demonstrating. And we want to help many others have that same connection. And that doesn't mean you go back and worship, you know, Cleopatra or anything like that. It means that you connect with source in your own way, you know. So so gods and goddesses throughout time doesn't mean that they were not relevant. It means that's how it was interpreted in the past. And and now we'll probably learn in the future, I think at some point, that the way we're worshiping God now might not be quite, you know, accurate as well. So I think as we move forward, we're gonna see that. So that's one of the reasons why I feel that I was guided, and with Janine's help, we'll find out if these are accurate to come up with this information. So Plutarch, let me share the screen real quick, and I'll pull up a picture of Plutarch from that time frame. There's a statue of Plutarch actually in Delphi. There's a museum there. I haven't been to it yet, but at some point I plan to go there. So as you can see here, I mean, I see myself pretty clearly, but maybe because you're like, well, that's ancient. It's not you. No, it's not me now, but it was me then. So, and the similarities are striking to me. Anyway, this was, you know, around the same time frame when he was in his 60s and 70s. And he wrote, you know, many books on past lifetimes, all kinds of crazy stuff, kind of like what I do now. So it's interesting what you'll find in your past life discoveries. So the Oracle of Delphi, which I feel that Janine feel very strongly. Janine probably did this in many lifetimes, actually, were oracles for many, maybe even many different religions. So research tells us that the Temple of Apollo at Delphi, set over a point of where two fissures in Earth cross each other, and it goes into Plutarch, the Greek Roman biographer, served as a priest at Delphi for 30 years before his death. He reported that the Oracle of Delphi usually seemed as though she had run a race or danced an ecstatic dance. So she prepared herself basically through fasting. You know, she foregoed, you know, sex with her partner so that she could really focus on, you know, transmitting this information. Not that we all have to do that, but it is it's one of the ways that we can, you know, tap into it. So the Oracle of Delphi, as you see here, Plutarch getting ready to take down what she talks about and then translate it so that whoever was king, queen, you know, general, Alexander the Great went there and consulted the Oracle of Delphi, and many others throughout time. So it's a fascinating story if you ever get into it. So Janine, let's look at that that lifetime of Plutarch, and I feel that you might have been an oracle during the time frame of Plutarch.
Was it was there something violent about his life?
Plutarch, not that I'm aware of. There were, you know, it was a violent time, you know, throughout history, there's been violence. So that I'm aware of, not right offhand.
Another way I could read that is, did he bring a huge revelation to the humans at the time?
He did through his parallel lives. So his parallel lives, he went back through time. Basically, he was revealing past lifetimes, and he would do a Roman life and then a Greek life. But he was saying there's parallels here, but he wasn't coming right out and saying this is this person reincarnated. Mm-hmm. So he was very much into reincarnation. So the Romans, the reason why his work still is in existence is the Romans really liked it, and the Latins. So it came forward to our time now. So you can actually find the works of Plutarch to this day.
Wow. I'm getting he was incredibly smart and very much an air sign type. So he was very intellectual, even though he was spiritually connected, he more bent towards the intellect, it looks like. Look at the King of Cups. And he brought a huge revelation to the world at the time, and was even shocking and had a lot of clout somehow. Was he really powerful? Because I don't know anything about him in this lifetime. I don't anyway. He was super powerful, but he was also really a warrior on some level. Mm-hmm. And you've often had, like, I feel like a lot of your lifetimes you were a warrior or have been, and even this lifetime you are. Mm-hmm. Just like you're saying, I've been an oracle many lifetimes, which makes sense because astrology just came really naturally to me. As soon as I looked into it, even remotely, I just understood how to read a chart, things like that. Yeah. And I took a real, like, just easily took to the tarot, even though it took years to really get, you know, learned with it. It was quite natural right from the get-go to understand how it works. So I kind of get what you're saying. I'm gonna ask specifically, I'm more getting what he was like.
Okay.
So I'm gonna ask specifically if you were this guy. Is that how you want to ask it?
Sure, sure. I
Is
mean, whatever
his,
you're led to, I mean, I
let's do that.
completely, I love the way we work together. So if that's what you're getting, you need to focus on that. Good.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna ask.
Okay.
Who was he to you is what I'm kind of how I'm going with it.
So to me, to this day is when I made the connection with this past life information, and how I was able to look at, like I have been, I look at many people throughout time and see the connections that I've had. And we'll talk about that in a little bit.
So you were physically, literally him.
Wow.
Because there's a lot of ways. Sometimes some souls, when I'm looking at reincarnated souls and etc., I'll get a grouping of souls. So the soul can be so evolved that it can be several souls in one. Right. And come across like with that kind of knowledge and intelligence. Sometimes it's lots of soul. I get you literally were literally this guy in a past life. Fantastic. So couldn't be more clear with that. Now there's a 3 here. So you might have been working together with 2 other souls to combine to make that his intelligence. Because sometimes I think groups come together as a being.
Wow. That's incredible, because I know that President Trump, his soul and my soul are very similar. And we actually work together sometimes in many lifetimes. We'll talk about that in a second. When the lifetime is Justinian, because he was, I think it's the General Belisarius. Trump was that general in that lifetime. But we can look at that as well. So that'll be interesting.
Okay. Wow. Okay, this is really interesting. I feel like when you were living as him, you were also a couple of other incarnations all at the same time. I think things go parallel and we just don't even, like, we literally live these different separate lives, but maybe even at the same time.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah,
wow.
I've gone back and seen many parallel lives. So that's very, very fascinating. So you're tapping into it. Very good.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah. I'm learning so much. It's good.
It's amazing the way this comes through. So a lot of people will say, the Bible, we work with the Bible and everything that it says. So the Bible, if you take it on a literal term, sometimes it will mislead. Because you're not getting the full scope of what they were trying to translate during that time frame, because they were very spiritual and very, like we're talking about right now, they were very connected to source. That has been, we have been misled away from that connection, through time and mistranslation, a lot of these, biblical passages and so forth. So one of them that I got today, while I was thinking about this and in our connection throughout time, is that there's a passage in the Bible where it says the woman should submit to the man. Now, a lot of people would say that means you're being submissive and that you're not being able, you're not. So a lot of women will look at that and go, roll their eyes and go, oh my God. And I understand that. And when I read that passage on a literal way, I'm like, that's ridiculous. So what they were trying to submit was like you're doing right now. You're submitting to me information from source. So that was the submission and not being submissive. So the submit to to a man or whatever, you're submitting information from source, because guys don't normally tap into this. It's very, very hard for a man to become intuitive. Everything's against a man to become intuitive. Women, easy, because they're naturally intuitive. So for a man, you have to have uncommon discipline, and probably like I have many lifetimes of developing this ability. So to do it in one lifetime, where all your lifetimes you've been, just a man, nothing more, is everything's stacked against you. So you need a woman to translate source information to you. And with that information, you create. So men are great creators of information that is submitted to them by a woman. So we can look at these passages and they get misinterpreted quite often, unfortunately. But from my experience and for what I'm looking, the way I look at a lot of this stuff, because I was involved in many of those writings over time, actually. And that is really the true interpretation of that particular passage.
Yeah. So I also asked in that original question, part of it was, who was I? Because you were saying maybe I was involved there. And I got, so this is you. So you were the front, but I was under, sort of in the background, let's say, giving you information. So she's bringing the information and you're putting it out there. So that's
Right.
interesting that you just said that. So in that lifetime, I was counseling or giving you she gives wise counsel. And I was female in that lifetime, because I haven't always been, I've been a male in lots of my lifetimes, but also been about equal, I'd say, female. So she's giving, I was giving you counsel. So I was submitting information and you were, working with it.
Right, exactly. And that's what the priest was designed for. Well, not designed for, but trained for. And the oracle herself would get that information. And as it would only happen during a certain time frame, because she actually sat over gases that put her in a hypnagogic state. And then the information would come through, and it would come through in a way that most people would be like, that's gobbledygook. But the man being able to, in this case, being able to interpret that information, because he worked with the oracle over time, was trained to work with her, because it took a lot of training, a lot of interpretation capability, just like we're talking about, to bring that information through. So this is one of the things I wanted to go into, where men and women right now are working like we are right now, in unison and in groups, to bring in this information on a very, very fascinating and very spiritual level that's transmuting all the negativity that we've seen throughout time into a very positive realm, so that they're rising into the higher consciousness realm. Yeah. So not getting hooked up and stopped out with this information from timeframes, because Apollo, as a god, he was a man at one point that reached incredible levels of consciousness, and then eventually it got interpreted that he was a god. So when we interpret that soul that goes into the other side can actually still communicate and can still access God information, just like he did in the physical realm. So you're tapping into a soul that's tapping into God's source, and so forth. So a lot of it, coming down through dimensional, gates to reach us on a 3D level. So that's what all of this was at that time, and still is, actually. So what we're doing right now is the same thing. Once again, here in this reality, thousands of years later. So it's fascinating.
Wow.
Yeah,
it is. I love it.
Yeah, so that's fascinating that you have been an Oracle of Delphi, because it makes total logical sense to me that you have been involved in that. So, wow. And I think that probably I have the feeling that you were also Oracle in Egypt as well. So let's go on. Let's go up in time. Let's move ahead to Justinian the First, or Justinian the Great. So it's been recognized by many people that I was this person. Now, a lot of people was like, Mike, you're like all these great people throughout time. It's like, no, Justinian was a spy. How about that? Was a spy for the government, like I have been. And eventually he worked his way up. They recognized his abilities, and he had some amazing people around him that helped guide him. So everyone that you see, Trump, you know, anyone throughout time that has reached an amazing level of ability to tap into source has often had many guides and you know, I say guide, and I also talk about not just men, but also women. So you have been one of those in many lifetimes. And I believe that at some point I actually helped, you know, serve you in some capacity when you were in a leadership mode. So we'll figure that out later if you haven't already. But in that time frame, so I'm reaching here. I'm reaching. I don't know. I don't really know, but I get this feeling, this intuitive feeling, you know, that you were in that time frame as during the Justinian time frame. And we'll look at, like I said, and I'll look at the name. I'll look for the name as you look for this information. So for many of you, the Hagia Sophia, which is still there, was built by Justinian. It was a work that should not have been able to come through, but it did come through again from higher consciousness sources, and that's been the case for many years. So I really feel that you were there during that time frame. You were some kind of in that environment as someone giving information once again.
Okay, I got a yes. I got a yes, but I also get it was really stressful.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I had to be undercover. I had to pretend I wasn't doing what I was doing. So I was on the down low about what I was. So maybe it was a treacherous time for oracles in those days.
It really was, and in fact, they almost lost that empire. There was like a riot, a massive riot, and they were getting ready to leave.
Yep.
And my wife Tracy was the queen, and she's like, "We're not leaving. We're not leaving." So Belisarius, who is, I believe, a former incarnation of Patton and Trump and so forth. Belisarius was a general. He basically went into this stadium, which still exists today to a certain extent, or the remnants of it, and basically kicked some butt and clean house. Unfortunately, there was a massive slaughter of people. But these were people kind of like what we're seeing today, the rioters and so forth that we would see in a lot of these states. Basically, imagine Belisarius coming in and kicking some serious butt, and that's the end of that. And so, I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen today. I think we're more refined now with these energies and abilities. So these negativities are being basically stopped out through our consciousness, and that's more powerful in the long run than the physical part of it. So let's see what the cards will bring through and what you feel like you're guided to look at.
Just around the time period.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the time period is 527. So April 1st was when he was born, and August 1st, 565, I think. No, I'm looking at something else. So he's born 482. Okay. Incredible
soul. There's a lot of wisdom here with this. And also there could have been a connection to off-worlders when I get that card. So could have had some mixed blood, let's say, like mixed, intermixing with other galaxy beings.
Yes.
I want to say, yeah. Again, we're incredibly intelligent, writer. There's all this air sign always overview here. And I know you're a Libra in this lifetime. Is that true?
Yes.
So we're getting this card again, which is consistent with your being part of the energy here.
Wow.
So you're picking up on these energies that you joined forces with. Again, I get a joint force. I think there's a lot of energy comes together and reoccurs and re-enters the world physically together. I feel like once we evolve to a certain degree, we come together with groups as opposed to a singular soul, which is
Right.
interesting. Because I'm getting there was a combination of souls here, including off-worlder, and you're part of it again. So that's
That's
wild.
yeah. When you look at the Hagia
Oh,
Sophia, even today, it looks amazing.
this is weird. Okay, that's my Mr. T card.
Yeah.
Okay, and we got the Wheel of Fortune. So he was somehow involved on a spiritual level, but
Mhm.
maybe not that person. That doesn't feel like he was part of that soul coming together. You were, but not, he wasn't, but he was somehow around the scene.
Yeah. So
Let's see if we can.
he was the general Belisarius.
Oh, okay, okay. You already said that. Okay. And was there some kind of conflict between you two that lifetime? This feels like,
There was, yeah.
yeah,
He
there's
tried
conflict.
he tried to take over and
Yeah.
insert himself as because I've been kicking butt. I've been like, expanding the empire. So the Roman Empire basically had collapsed during the 300, 200, 300 period.
Yeah.
And Justinian came back and basically reestablished it and pushed the boundaries of the empire, the old empire of Rome again. And Belisarius was masterful in helping to make that happen. So he got a little full of himself,
Yeah.
which a lot of us do. It happens over time.
Yeah.
And he wasn't able to control his ego, and so I had to rein
Yeah.
him in a little bit. Yeah.
That's exactly what this card is. It's ego battle. He had an issue with your ego. He had an ego issue with you, and he likes control. But I also get, this is a funny sideline just dropped in my head. You might have had a romantic liaison with somebody close to him, and he didn't like that either. So there was some personal issue there with you that was not really helping the whole situation. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you kind of learn stuff as you go along sometimes, and that's one of those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So unfortunately, my wife in this life and in that life, Theodora, passed away during the plague. Now, another thing, and maybe there was some kind of a romantic involvement with his wife. I don't know. So I mean, I'm not discounting it. So
that's kind of what I get.
Okay. You're very nice. Okay, so that's maybe that happened, or not maybe. I guess it happened. So there we go. We're informing history today still.
Yep.
So England, America. So this is one of the points. So I wanted to bring in what is actually happening in each of these lifetimes currently. So what we're seeing today is the law that Justinian started all the way back then. And you'll see this in a lot of in England, in America, and some other places where they actually have statuary and sayings from Justinian, and his law that he started in that time frame has come forward all the way to this point. We'll look at in another life where that happened again. I'm not going to bring that up yet, so we don't get too distracted or too overwhelmed with this information. But the law was the thing that we're looking at now. So the law is being usurped in many places that he brought in and others brought in to bring forward to help humanity. And common law that came through in England, we'll talk about that in a minute, came down into America when they brought it through. So the basically taking over the law, by the deep state, which we're seeing right now, and it's basically being taken back again, slowly but surely under everybody's noses. It is happening. We're going to see a return to that law that he came out with. So that's another thing that I wanted to bring up, that the law that was established during that time frame, and probably like you're saying, came through with these higher level consciousness beings that kind of inputted his, because I have this connection with Sirius B, and I've had it for many, many lifetimes. And now you're bringing that up again. So that's interesting that even Justinian might have had that. Well, it sounds like he did have that connection.
Yeah. Wow.
Fascinating. So how were you involved, or were you involved in that lifetime as well?
So yes again.
Wow.
Aces are yes. Okay. I was involved from a distance this time. So that's a far distance. And I somehow had something to do with your bringing up in childhood. So I was somebody who oversaw you growing up. So I would have been older, obviously, much older, and an elder to you at the time of when you were an adult male. But I feel like I might have been, this is going to sound like your nanny, or somebody close to the family who kind of oversaw in a loving way your childhood. That's the just drop I got. I just got goosebumps, so I know I'm right.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I was somehow around your growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and very much supportive of you as the what came afterwards, and all the success you had, and I was really supportive. So a supportive figure in your early life and into your adulthood.
Nice, nice.
Isn't that interesting?
That's fascinating. It rings true. I get the chills. I'm getting the chills as well. So this little thread that we have been, helping each other, propelling each other, through many lifetimes, has been quite significant, not only for us, but for humanity. And that's one of the great things that we get from your work, and combining our work, Jean-Claude and the three of us, all the stuff we're doing, and the other people that you're involved with. I love all your shows. So it's very informative. It's coming through. It's informing me. It's informing thousands and tens and hundreds of thousands of other people. So it's absolutely fascinating. And people are saying it's amazing in the chat too. So that's great. So now we jump ahead a little bit again. So I've always felt that you were involved in these lifetimes from, I could see you, in these lifetimes, and I didn't understand exactly, your function and what you're doing. I felt that your function was like you're informing on a very, very high level, and you're one of the main pillars for my my ascension in a lot of these lifetimes, to become, someone that gives the information to people that, lasts throughout the centuries. So now we're going to jump again. And I really felt this one super strong, Edward I. Now, Edward I, this is England. So we're moving into 1239 AD, ADE. So it's, we've seen the movie where, he's kind of, not looked on in a good light. And that's what Hollywood does a lot of times. They try and make these people look evil or look bad, because they were actually, like we're talking about, bringing in good things. So Edward I brought in common law, from Justinian's, based on Justinian's work, interesting, into the current time frame.
Yeah.
Now, this was in the movie with let me think, what was the name of that? With Mel Gibson, where Edward Longshanks, they talk about, where was that one where, he's, can't think of the name. Maybe somebody will think about it in the chat. So he's Scottish. So he goes against.
Yeah, I know the one.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't remember the name either. Where he's all painted up. There's that great
in the blue,
picture of him.
Like old.
He's such a warrior.
Bring up the spears and basically, yeah. So Braveheart. Thank you.
That's it. Braveheart.
Braveheart. Yeah. So sometimes they make us look, bad, and part of that is true, but there's also, I came in later as a Scotsman and was on the throne as Charles II. So the Scots basically helped put me back on the throne. My father, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit, I don't want to go too far, but my father was Charles I, and he was beheaded. He was a king that was beheaded, and the city of London was the one that basically came in. As we know, the city of London is not good, that funded the Civil War that happened in England back then. And eventually the people of England were like, we want the king back, you guys suck. So anyway, I played this role in many lifetimes. So a lot of people are like, it's all, you're like these king lifetimes, and like you're talking about, you're in the background, you don't want anything, any part to do to it, because it sucks up there in the front. And it does. A lot of people think, oh, glory, beautiful, castles and so forth. Edward was a castle builder, and I know that I have built castles in many, many lifetimes. So that came through, and it came through after I found the lifetime that we talked about, Richard III. So Richard III died in battle, and they made him look bad. And then finally, when I made the connection with Edward III, we talked about this, where basically they found his body after I finally made the connection. The next day after, I was like, okay, I was Edward III after I experienced every one of his battle wounds, all 11 of them. And I was like, okay, I was Edward III, stop. So the next day they found his body in he's been missing for like 500 years or something crazy.
Wow.
So then it was disclosed that, oh, he wasn't a bad guy like Shakespeare said he was. Shakespeare obviously was going by the rulers at the time. They told him what to write. A lot of times they gave him what to write, and he basically just put the plays on,
Yeah.
So we're starting to figure that out, and of course, they want to hide that as well. But
he's also a group of people.
Yes, he's a group of people. I actually helped write a couple of those plays during that time frame. So there's a lot of information that's come through. So Edward I. So I feel that you're again helped to. So Edward, you think it's all good, but Edward was defeated in battle and surrendered and was put in prison, and then eventually escaped and overcame, and then rose to power. And he was on a crusade. I can't remember which one it was. He was almost killed on the crusade. Somebody came in, was supposed to be delivering a message to him, and they tried to stab him with a poison dagger. His wife basically sucked out the poison, who's my wife again, in this life. So she's been there.
Wow.
We have been, working together as well in many lifetimes.
Wow.
So in fact, I was in every single one of the crusades, every single one of them. And
wow.
And that was to help bring in or stop out again the deep state. So the deep state has been involved for a very, very long time. Many people think that it's just a new thing, but it's been around for thousands of years. Right?
That's exactly what as I was laying these out. It's you were absolutely repressed by, or tried to be shut down by, or they were trying to take you off the earth plane. And I said, who? Deep state, dark cult.
Wow.
Because you were the enemy of this bunch back then. Everything you're saying is absolutely sitting here in this little layout here. You had to go into hiding for a short different various times. They were after you in so many ways. So you were in hiding. You even hid underground, and like the attempts on your life are like numerous. That was you though. That was that same king sort of like card, right? Yeah, you were absolutely the enemy of these guys. They didn't want you. Whatever you were doing, you were going against everything they were trying to do. You were super intuitive as that life do though.
Yeah. And that, I think again, that was because of your training and your guidance. So let's see if you're involved in that life as well. So Edward I, again, like we were talking about, the common law that we know now basically was brought through by Edward I. So think of him as a native guy, like they showed in the Braveheart, if you want. But as we know, these guys try to destroy people over a lifetime.
Okay, this is interesting. I'm coming up a male in this lifetime.
Hmm.
And we've got the hanged man. So I was in the background again. So I'm not in the foreground. And I was wise counsel, magical, and a bit of a magician. So I like to, I can feel like having conversations with you about mystical things that a lot of people didn't understand in those days, like astrology, like the spirit world, like I was spiritual wise counsel, but from a masculine perspective. Like almost like a sage type. Older again, a little older. And I feel like, because you were this guy, so you were young, but grew into a man. And I was absolutely, I feel like I almost might have taught you something like astrology or mysticism or something.
Mm-hmm.
I was part of your education in spirit world. That's what I get. Wow.
Okay, so yeah, that fits because I felt that you were one of my main counselors, and when you died is when things started to fall apart. And it actually, you might even look at this to see if you were this person, Burnell. So so you were Edward's chancellor, I believe. Burnell. Yeah. So after we get done, you can look that up and see how that connects with you. Maybe not.
That's a yes.
Oh my God.
It's an ace. I
Wow.
can't believe it. I got to look that person up. That's
yeah, that's gonna be bad. I got to look it up too. So it started come to me when I started to look at this information that you were part of that, and you're moving forward.
An elder Wiseman.
Yes. And you helped create reform in the legal, procedural, and administrative matters of many kinds. So the two of us working together created quite a kingdom that has basically come down to us today in every country that the English went on to, because at one time the sun never set on the British Empire, and they brought in excellent laws throughout the entire world. So many of these laws have been usurped, as we're talking about, and that's the thing that's going to be returned and turned around, and I believe even go to a higher level. So I believe that our law system, we're seeing how easily corruptible it is. We're going to create something even more fantastic that cannot be corrupted, and I think that's part of our consciousness. As intuitives, you and I, we look at stuff and we're like, no, and here's what's really going on. So that's the way everyone's going to be in the future. So that will be the law of the future. So you won't be able to get away with stuff. I know, right? Oh my God.
I can't wait.
So we're proving that as a capability, and we're being that thing for people, and we don't need to be rulers or Hollywood or political figures of high levels. This time we can come through and relay this information from our position anywhere. Anyone can tap this information. Anyone can share this information going forward.
It's interesting what you're saying and the reveals here. I just want to personally say, well, thank you so much, because I really, your vision for past lives is much clearer than mine. And another thing that's interesting is I've always just wanted to be support and help everyone find how intuitive and connected they were. I didn't want to be out front and known as some big famous psychic or anything. For 35 years.
Big thunderclap that went down when you said that.
Yeah, for 35 years, I just wanted, honestly, other humans to figure out how brilliant and amazing they are, find out what their past lives were. I love, and I'm not a martyr by any means, because I got a big ego too sometimes, but I love the support of humans touching base with their souls and to realize how magical they are. And when you're telling me I was supportive in these roles and then we're seeing it's true, it's absolutely like I almost want to cry of happiness.
And I'm getting chills as you're talking about it. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's another confirmation.
yeah. So thank you. I'm so honored.
Oh yeah, it's fun to make these connections, and as everyone's seeing,
Yeah.
it can be quite magical when you make them, and and touch you on a very deep level. So
Yeah.
definitely look into your own
Yeah.
past lifetimes. You know, don't discount this capability, this possibility that you
Yeah.
can really tap
Yeah.
into this. Don't be asleep to this
Yeah.
information. Yeah.
It's
So
so magical that you're doing this. I can't believe it.
well, you as well. I mean, you're confirming it on a higher source level. So that's the beauty of you know, two intuitives coming together, the masculine and feminine. You know, we're showing, and you're talking about your past lives as masculine and feminine, how you balance yourself, how I balance myself, staying, you know, being this warrior king throughout many lifetimes, and it's very tragic. All right, so Charlemagne. So now I feel you were very much a part of Charlemagne the Great, his kingdom, and bringing forth information, again informing him. Oh, before we go there, this is fascinating. So this is another one of those things where I said that as Edward III, you know, they found Edward's third body when I made that connection. Now, when I made that connection to this life, there was a thing called the coronation stone of Scone. Edward I removed that from the Scots and put it in Westminster. And just recently, it was returned to them. And that was the same time frame where I made the connection with Edward I. So it's a very magical stone. It sat underneath the throne, and it gave information to anyone on a higher spiritual level, anyone that sat above it, and that was the reason for it. Let's see what the cards might say about that.
Is that the stone they place under, like, whoever's being crowned in the UK?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yep.
So the first thing I get about the stone's energy, because I'm reading the energy of it, is that it has I'm going to say a mind of its own, I want to say. And it's otherworldly, and somehow even the stone might be made up of something not so earth plane, we'll say.
Wow.
So I wonder if there's off-world quality to it somehow.
Absolutely.
The thing itself. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of conflict when it's used wrong or by the wrong people. So it actually can do damage in the wrong hands. That's what I get. And it's on the way to being used properly, but it's saying here that it's been badly used for a really long time.
Yes.
But that's all changing. And it's coming to a balance with a 6. There's going to be a balancing of the energy of it, and it'll be useful again, but it has to be, the right people have to be using it. So the energy works if good people with good intentions. So it has some kind of magic on it, that it doesn't work when you're using it for nefarious reasons. It's not going to work.
Outstanding. So those that are listening, I'll talk a little bit about it. It's also called the Stone of Destiny, and it comes from the Scottish. So the Scottish the Scots could not be dominated. Rome tried to dominate the Scots, and basically they gave up and built a wall to separate them. That still exists today. And the kings, many kings tried to dominate them. They were thwarted. So I believe the Scots had, like we're talking about, some extra power. So I think Edward kind of like tapped into that, like you were talking about, from your guidance, and he brought that stone back from the Scots. And from that point on, although there were probably about 250 years of conflict between the English and the Scots, eventually that came together, like I talked about with Charles the the first, who was Scottish, and then Charles II, who was his son, that eventually would come back and be the king once again after the throne was usurped wrongly. So there was people that have been sitting on that stone of destiny, which it weighs 336 pounds, rectangular block of pale yellow sandstone, measuring 26 by 16 inches by 11 inches. And it says a Latin cross, it's its only decoration. So it was definitely used. And I challenge anyone to, bring that up. It says it's from the Holy Land. It purportedly traveled to Egypt, Sicily, and Spain, and reached Ireland about 700 BCE to set upon the hill of Tara, where ancient kings of Ireland were crowned. Thence it was taken by the Celtic, I think were very religious, spiritual Scots, who invaded and occupied Scotland about 840 CE. It was taken by Kenneth MacAlpine to the village of Scone, where it gets its name. So it's been around for a while. And magical powers, like you talk about, and it was being misused, which we know the English rulers for quite some time have been misusing their powers, and I think they're pretty much gone now. But let's move on to, like we talked about, to what were we talking about? That other king. The other
king.
What? Who was it?
I can't remember either.
I know we're just I get so sidetracked, and maybe somebody in the chat will tell.
Was it a Scottish king?
No, it was
a British guy.
Charlemagne the Great.
Yeah. Okay.
So again, Charles Longshanks and Charlemagne, both very tall men, and then Charles II, also a very tall man. So I'm not tall in this life, but I have had these connections, and I look at those lifetimes, and there's a thread that I see with all of them. And Charlemagne also brought in law and information. Basically, started educating everyone all the way down to childhood level. Up to that point, only the rulers were educated. So he brought in information so that everyone could get an education. And of course, did a lot of battling. That's why they call him the Great. Anyone that has a great behind their name means they conquered a lot. So a warrior king again.
Now, do you know anything personally about him? Like, did he suffer from depression or sorrow or melancholy?
Absolutely. He had a family. Basically, his brother tried to kill him with an army. So he gathered his own army and fought his brother. And took his brother out, and then was like the only ruler. So and a lot, again, they try and say that he was power hungry and just killed all of his offspring. No. His brother tried to instead of like being comfortable with his own little kingdom, tried to kill his brother.
I do get the brother. So that's a sibling. That can be a sibling card, and there's a young man. Okay. And I get that he didn't want to do that. And it caused him a lot of sorrow that his brother was behaved the way he did. He actually loved his brother. And I feel like, it was a big part of his sorrow.
Yeah.
What happened.
Absolutely. And part of his anger. So there has been, unfortunately, as we talk about now, the anger part is a detractor from reaching higher spiritual levels of consciousness. And also this love energy that we continually talk about when we get together. So it's been something, I've had to get hold of in this life, being a very, as a Navy SEAL and, starting the Navy SEALs hand-in-hand program, I learned that the fear and the anger were detractors. You couldn't reach higher levels of capabilities if you weren't in the love vibration. So,
what I get sort of generally around him is that his victory cost him dearly. So he had a lot of victories, but it was always at a great cost personally to him in lots of different ways. So it was sort of a bittersweet lifetime.
Right. And I've had many of those. We could go on and on with these king lifetimes that I've discovered, and they're very, very similar. It's very tragic. So like I was talking about, it's being a king is if you are a good one. If you're an evil king, it's really simple and easy. You just let people take charge, like we're seeing happen right now in the U.S. and many other countries. You let yourself be manipulated. It's very hard to do the right thing. And to do the right thing, you're going to have everybody come at you and attack you, family members. Sometimes like we talk about with Justinian, you'll have the public go against you in a big way. Like we had with Trump at the White House, where we had rioting and they were trying to scale the White House fence. And they put Trump down into the secure bunker. And then of course the press was like, oh, look, he went to the bunker, like, because people were like protesting. No, they were trying to take down the White House. It was very close there for a while. So yeah, it's very interesting, make these connections throughout time. Maybe at some point, in the future, we'll talk about the connection with Trump and, the three of us or whatever. So were you there with Charles I or Charlemagne?
Looks like I sat that one out.
Okay, you weren't there involved in that one. Okay.
Yeah, we got the Fool, and I was aware on some level spiritually, but I sat it out, and I came later in his reign. So I was born late in his reign. So I came onto the earth plane in that lifetime, somehow connecting to his lifetime, but only as a small child, and then grew he was long gone.
Ah, interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Well, one we did connect with, that's a rarity. I think that's a first. So, it's kind of a reach on all of these, really. So to find that most of them that you were there is pretty remarkable. Yeah. So, not like we like to do. What is it that you would like to share and share with the audience that's foremost on your mind before we sign off?
Well, just before I came on, I saw lots of people actually sent me video clips of there was a brick mural erected in the can I say his name? George?
Yeah, I think that's good enough. I think
yeah.
with an F, and it caused a lot of writing. I think that'd be good enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And lightning struck this thing.
Exactly.
Okay, and ruined it. It was a giant brick wall, and this thing was painted on the brick wall, and lightning struck and took a whole layer. So there was layers of brick. It took one layer off that took the picture, like it went right in the center. I couldn't believe the photograph of it. It was so obvious that that was a spiritual message from the universe. I was floored.
That is amazing. I almost brought that up a couple times too. And I think that's important that you bring that up, because it's like we've been talking about, we're in this spiritual warfare. And I believe that was a message sent to the people that are still on the fence and not quite getting that this is, that we're in a spiritual battle. Yeah. And that they need to wake up and get on board with, moving forward. And we're kind of impeded because of their slow shuffle. And what do you see in the cards about that? Was that actually a sign from heaven?
Have a look. Yeah, let's have a look. I mean, my first thought was that, but let's see what the cards want to say about it.
Yeah, me too. Good.
Okay, so I'm not getting it was per se from God or spirit, goddess, whatever you want to call it, otherworldly sign.
Nice.
So it was a strike from off world. Wow. Okay, it was absolutely trying to get the attention of people not paying attention. So all
Right.
these people looking the other way, feeling sorry for themselves and looking the other way and getting distracted. She's really distracted when she's badly aspected. She's so distracted on, look at how she looks at her cup. That's all she cares about. She's not paying attention. It's like a wake up call to go, hello. Yeah, something weird's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and pay attention to what's really happening, right? Something's definitely happening that isn't the narrative, that's for sure. Yeah, and it was in support of, that's my good guys card. So white
Right.
hats,
Yeah.
Mr. T, Alliance, like that, in support of that. So this bunch, off-world, off-world, wise people from off-world. So it was actually not necessary. So maybe they manipulate weather sometimes themselves, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They overcome the manipulation sometimes. And I feel that's from our consciousness. So if we call that in, enough of us, and I've been teaching this for years, on a positive level, that it does have an effect, just like any kind of consciousness, thinking and, desiring things to happen a certain way. And I think that is what we focus on going forward. Because I think so many people are like, when is it all going to end? It's like, it's going to end when you start to focus. Start to focus on positive, what you want to make a reality going forward.
Yep.
Stop whining, start getting involved, and make a difference. And you do that through your good works being the way you focus your consciousness.
Yep. Your thoughts and words, just be so careful where you put them and put that energy, because you'll attract exactly what you're putting out.
That's right. So if you're feeling very bad, very negative, that's because that's where your thoughts are going. So, and a lot of people just don't understand this. It's like, no, it's all around me. No, it's all around you because you're attracting it, because you're thinking that. So here we are trying to, throughout lifetime, inform the way we have in many, many lifetimes, people, this is the way it works. You can make a difference through your own consciousness. And you and I are great examples that we have been battling these forces for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And now we're finally at that point where it's almost ready to shift. There's still people that aren't getting it. And you're making this harder by whining and saying that, oh, woe is me. And by not focusing your consciousness, it's like we just talked about, as far as like the common law and turning things around, it doesn't happen unless people get involved.
Yeah.
We're looking at, let me ask you about this. Cuba this is what I got, that is going to be fairly bloodless revolution in Cuba. Is that the case? And I think the Cuban people are going to do it this time. They're not going to have help like they have in the past.
Oh, they're definitely ready for a big change.
Mm-hmm.
And I get a yes on how you said it. It's
Nice.
going to take time, but it's really positive that it is the people doing it for themselves. That's the whole idea. They're quantum leaping into, it's almost like they're taking an opportunity, even though it looks dire and drastic. They're taking an opportunity to just overhaul something that hasn't been working for 60 years.
Yeah.
Right. And it's actually coming from a really positive energy, even though it obviously there's things that don't look positive when you're seeing it from the outside, but it's coming from, they want to renew and completely recreate themselves there.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, this is it. I really felt that it's going to be a model for everybody going forward. I'm getting chills right now. So that's very inspirational. Again, give the Cuban people support through your consciousness. And it absolutely, your prayers make a massive difference. You want to see freedom in Cuba? Think it, pray it, make it happen.
Visualize it.
Just all make it happen. Yeah, we can do it. All right. All right, Janine. Wow. I mean, every show just keeps getting better and better and better. It's like unbelievable, Yeah. Thanks so much.
Wow. Yeah. I'm just like, wow.
I'm like, ooh, I just have to get off and like, start some more research and look at some of this stuff. It's fascinating. And I hope that everyone that watches this, that has been watching this and that will watch this, please share this and make it as viral as possible, because it really makes a difference. Consciousness is the thing of the future. And many of us have worked for many, many lifetimes to make this happen. Many of you out there have worked for lifetimes to make this happen. Let's make this the time for us.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, lots of love out there, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.